Hey everyone, Eric with Rockin H, and welcome to How It's Made. We're going to talk about James's Freightliner Coronado. This is a labor of love. If you've never done one of these, I suggest you do it because they're cool. If you can find the cab, these are getting a little more difficult to find. The Freightliner Coronado was made by Liberty Classics and only came out in a high sleeper version. And it's all die-cast, comes on its own frame, and you're going to have to do some pretty good cutting to get this to the way it looks right here. What you got to do first is take this off the frame. And there's just some pins up here on the Liberty Classics frame that holds a hood on. And then you have a screw underneath this tranny that you can put the cab on and off. Now the hood does open. However, I had an absolute nightmare of a time getting everything to line up after I did all the modifications to it. It was just impossible to get everything to line up square, neat, and clean. So I glued the hood to the cab and then added it to the frame. Not ideal, but it solves the problem, and it does actually make the cab look a little better, even though we lost some functionality. Once you have the cab free, you have to cut back here, down the back of the sleeper, and then across the top, and then sand these joints smooth. You're going to have an open hole here and an open top there, and you'll have to take brass or styrene or some product that you like. I use styrene because I like it's just easy to work with, and then glue that to the cab, get that line cleaned up, and then glue the roof cap on. And then you can come back after you get everything kind of rough sanded. You can come in with body filler and clean up any lines where you might see the styrene come through. And that's how you're going to do that. I know that's really down and dirty and quick, but that's the way you do it. And if you wanted a practice truck, I would go get an Ertl, cut that up. It'll cost you $0 almost, and then give you some good lessons. Okay, after we got that done, I went ahead and added this visor. This came out of a package for, it was some leftover parts from a kit from Canada Coda that I sell in my store. So I robbed the part and then cut that to match the drop visor on his cab. He does not have clearance lights, but he does have air horns. These air horns came out of my store. The wet kit tank on this particular truck is handmade out of brass and styrene. Couple holes in the brass on top and then some straight pins to make it look like fill caps. The half fenders are sold in my store. These come from Truck and Little. The tanks come out of my store. Those are made in-house, as well as these rear mud flaps. The back of the frame is actually die-cast Promotions, and you can see here that I used brass to marry the die-cast Promotions rear end to the Liberty Classics front end. It worked really, really well. I was really kind of surprised by just how simple it worked. I did have to take the suspension out of the rear because, and it's hard to see in this particular shot with the camera being in a camera holder, but the whole truck sets at kind of an angle from the back to the front. Not ideal. I wish it would set more. I wanted it to set level. With the suspension in the rear, that made it look really obvious it wasn't level. So I took that out and it lowered the end by a couple millimeters, which is what I wanted. It's still not perfectly level. It's okay. I think it's going to be all right. And James seems pretty pleased with it. Molotow chrome right here behind this air intake, and then at the bottom of the door or below the door, and then I use Molotow across the bottom where the clearance lights are going to go. And then finally I added some of the paint from the cab to the bottom of the step because that's what the real truck has. And then of course the decals. The decals came from Circus City Decals Online. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. Again, I wish it would set just a little bit cleaner, a little bit more level than what it does, but marrying these two parts together makes it a challenge to get it ideal. But it does look pretty cool, and I absolutely love this color. And James is pretty pleased, and I'm just excited to get this into his hands. So that's how James's truck was made. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And as always, if you want to learn what I do, go to diecastlab.com. That's my teaching site. That's where I'll lead you by the hand, show you how to make cool customs. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.